So, well, we're in a new generation of Pokemon, so let's look back at the Gen 8 games. For today, I'll of course be taking a look at Sword and Shield first. These games released in 2019, and well, they certainly left behind an interesting legacy. I'll of course get into that later in the video, but I just want to take a quick glance at the story before moving on to the thoughts portion of this video. Obviously, the story is kind of it's disappointing. The whole story is pretty much just, you're just collecting the gym badges as usual, and then it's revealed that Chairman Rose, is kind of a bad guy trying to stop an energy crisis from happening, even though there's like a lot of Pokemon that kind of could help with that issue. It's kind of a boring and uninteresting plot, but does the DLC make any difference? Yeah, these are actually the first games in the series to actually have DLC, and I'll get into that later in this video. But the DLC is also kind of hit and miss. Isle of Vomit isn't all that bad. It is pretty much bonding with this one Pokemon, and I guess having to deal with a bit of a a-hole rival. And Crown Tundra is just, let's just cram in all the legendaries because we had nothing else to do kind of things. Both of the DLCs do have the moments, but I'm honestly looking more forward to Scarlet and Violet's DLCs. So, I guess, what are my thoughts on the game, and did it deserve all the negative reception? I gotta say, these games were really hated. It's probably controversial to say this, but there were some really stupid controversies with this game. Obviously, tackling the most obvious one was, of course, the removal of the national decks. This never bothered me, but I can see why this did turn some people off from the games. And to be honest, Nintendo should have made it clear in front that this was going to be a thing, instead of waiting for the hype for these games to kind of manifest. Like, it should have been clear from day one, is what I'm saying. The DLCs do make it a lot better, but if I remember right, this did cause some controversy, because to even have these in the game, well, even though you can trade them from games that do have the DLC, having to pay an extra $30 to $60 depending if you have one or two of these versions, it's definitely a bit of a what the F moment from some fans. Of course, the game also did get controversy from the graphics, which, yeah, again, it's kind of a stupid controversy. I think anyone who really plays these games doesn't really care how well these games look, and, like, this is a Switch game, and even the good-looking Switch games like The Witcher and Skyrim don't run as well compared to other consoles. So that was kind of one of the dumber controversies. But what about the Pokédex? Is the Pokédex good? The Pokédex has some pretty fun Pokemon, and I'm personally looking forward to talking about my favorite Pokemon from Gen 8, because I believe Gen 8 did introduce some pretty fun Pokemon. I also really did like the starters this generation. I thought there was some pretty cool designs with some of the new Pokemon, and the wild area, it's not a bad idea, it's kind of frustrating, because I would find I found it was a Lapras, and it was a level above the Pokemon I could catch at the moment, and I don't know how rare Lapras is, and I could be wrong, it probably might have been some other Pokemon, but it was a Pokemon that was a level above the ones I could catch, and it was a rare spawn, and that really hurts because I was nowhere near getting the next badge. Of course, looking at the DLC does have its fun moments too. Again, Isle of Vomit does reintroduce a lot of awesome Pokemon, same with Crown Tundra, but I really hate the Dynamax adventures. Like, those are total BS, and kind of did sound my opinion on the DLC, but Peony, he was a fun character, and was one of the things I enjoyed about that DLC. And of course, that's really all I have to say for Sword and Shield. They were not the best Pokemon games, but for the first installments of the Gen 8 entries, I gotta say these could have been worse, but considering on how they were handled at launch, I definitely do see why this did cause a lot of controversy, but there was some really stupid, well, there were some people that were just taking this out of proportion and acting as if this was the worst thing ever, which kind of makes some of the fans more annoying than Nintendo themselves. But that's all I have to say for this one. Of course, we're back with a brilliant and shiny review, so stay tuned for that one.